Welcome back, everybody. I'm here from the future to say that unfortunately, between the holidays and having people over, I had actually forgotten to save the VODs for both session 32 and 33. And they are sadly lost forever to time. And unfortunately, those sessions were quite important, as the Ditherers did go up against Thurl Merroska. So I'm here to recount the important details, at least those that we could remember. It's been a few years as of recording this, not gonna lie. So you can at least have a summary of what occurred and kind of hit the important details and understand where and how the party got to where we are starting in session 34. So, without a further ado, session 32, that kind of rhymed. At dinner, the Ditherers of Dismay continue to discuss their plans to assassinate Thurl Merroska, figuring out what to do, bouncing off ideas. The party eventually decides, thanks to a team, that they should send a magical letter using a paper bird to Merroska, informing them that they were actually a band of deserters from the Black Earth Brigade, and that they had information that they would be of great help for him and his knights, and wanted to meet up with him in an hour. Hoping he would agree without much of a reply, they plan for Rowan to use a scroll of invisibility so that she can kind of add an element of surprise and as well as get everybody in. They would wait for Rowan to have a good opportunity to attack, and for this exact moment, Atim lends her his dagger, disrespectful, just for the occasion, before he led everyone up to their room. Once everyone got in, Atim sits in the middle of the room, steels himself, and takes off the circlet he always wears. As the circlet comes off, they all notice that Atim's features blur and change as the magic of the circlet of human likeness dispels, unveiling long pointed ears, sharper, more fey-like features in his face, revealing his true elvish blood to the entire group, including Rowan. He discloses that he wants to use the circlet to maybe help disguise himself for the battle to protect both his identity and his connection to Eldar, his father. Reattuning to the item, putting it back on, he changes back into the human version of himself, only this time changing the kind of blue tones of his skin and hair and eyes to more natural, kind of darker skin tones and like dark black brown hair, hoping that that would be enough of a change not to make anyone trace him back to the Ditherers, trace him and the Ditherers back to Eldar. After that, they all prepare and head off to the Vendor Spire. There, they see that they are expected, and the guards welcome them in, flanking them, leading them into the spire and up to Thurl Merroska's office. So far, so good. On the way up there, they get to see the kind of the layout of the spire more, and they notice a gaunt kind of looking monk dressed in these blue robes, which some of them recognize as a monk from the monastery in Edgecrest, showing that they are compiling forces here. Once they all pile into Merroska's office, they are left with the intimidating, well-armored commander and only 2 knights that stay in the room. Sitting at his desk, Thurl greets the Ditherers, very curious about the information they have and what their story was to lead them to his office tonight. It was a very intense, awkward kind of talk with the party, and they did their best to keep face until Rowan attacked. Just as Thurl was figuring out something was wrong, she jumped the gun. I guess not jumped the gun. Started the gun? Was the gun. A long and intense battle does ensue. They quickly take out the 2 knights in the room, while Cain, using his giant form, holds and blocks the door so that, and like barring it from any of the reinforcements that were just outside the door from getting in. But with Merroska wielding his greatsword, having plate armor, casted a haste spell on him, along with having shield, his AC, making his AC up to 25 with the shield spell, he alone was such a formidable foe that it was so difficult to hit that this battle took almost the entire session. Half of the team got down just by himself, or at least nearly by himself. The group was kind of panicking. The reinforcements were slamming at the door, and it was only a matter of time before Cain was going to lose a strength check against them and have so many reinforcements, so many knights, possibly this monk and other like enemies and reinforcements piling into this room. But with amazing luck of the dice, which is why we love this game, a hold person spell was casted on Thurl, and he failed his save by like 2 points or something. This caused him, locking him in place, like in a corner of the room, and without being able to cast shield. And I ruled that because haste gives him the AC boost because they move so fast and he's locked in place, he doesn't even gain the haste bonus. It dropped his AC to 18, easier enough at least enough to hit him, and they unloaded on him as quickly as possible, unleashing everything they could. They healed those that were down and ripped into him, able to kill him before he was able to save. I believe they got like a single turn or single round. With that, they knew that they did not have much more time, and they had to quickly loot, grabbing papers from the desk, grabbing whatever maybe Thurl had on him, which really wasn't much or was in around the room, before hatching a plan to jump out the window of this 18 feet tall tower, at least from the top to the bottom. 800 feet. Sorry, not 18 feet. 800 feet. All rushing to the windows, Cain letting go of the door, sees a lot of knights breaking down the door, like an easy 10, as they ran and jumped. A team casting Featherfall on their way down, allowing them to get there safely. But he hears a whisper in his ear, like the words were writing in the air, saying, "Well, you seem quite connected." Confused, but not replying, Atim and the rest of the Ditherers, plus Rowan, land safely in the cavern below. But they were not out of danger yet, as they notice figures in the night sky kind of jumping and flying down, whether with Featherfall or other kind of casts of magic, down towards them. And that is where we ended session 32. Now for session 33, we start with one more thing that a team hears. Something about the potential. And then they begin to run. In hopes to give them cover, a team immediately casts a dense fog, a fog cloud spell, so they have some kind of moment to figure out where they're going and maybe give some confusion. Amdrus, being the master of distraction that he is, knowing that they need one to get away from the Feathergale Knights, decides to open the gates of hell right outside the spire. Not literally, but casting Major Image, creating this like massive demonic circle, opening up a portal, and then having a giant demon come out bellowing out loudly and roaring, hoping it would distract the knights long enough for them to flee at least. And it works mostly, at least for the moment. The knights flying down definitely get distracted. They land and try to shoot at this demon, and are very much like freaking out, calling reinforcements. But unfortunately, the monk that they saw dressed in the blue joins the fight too. They seem to have some kind of control over wind, and was able to use gusts of wind to dispel the fog cloud spell, as well as noticing that the demon was only but an illusion, getting everyone back onto track, back onto the Ditherers. During that time, though, the Ditherers were able to hide against kind of a rocky wall in the terrain of this cavern at night, kind of being able to find a moment to breathe and figure out their next step, figure out their escape route. When Atim hears that voice come once again, this time offering a deal. "I can help you get out. All you have to do is worship me, not her." Deciding against the wishes of this mysterious and creepy voice, Atim chooses to ignore it and not mention anything to the rest of the Ditherers, as they kind of plan a way out. using literally everything they could. They cast spells, just like stealthing, timing, using the train and the night for their advantage. And with lucky dice rolls on their end, low dice rolls on my end, they were able to find a way out, avoiding all notice from knights, the monk, everything, getting out of the cannon into the fields of the Blooming Vale and bolting it. Once they got far enough away, exhausted, they make camp for the night, knowing they were far enough from Crow Point, knowing that they, at least, there was a good chance the knights weren't going to be able to find them. They do set up watches, as always, during the night. The first watch being Joel and Atim, where Atim choose not to talk about this voice once more. But during this night, they do hear a kind of rumbling in the ground, some distance away, that kind of seem to come and go. Fortunately, nothing seemed to come close, but they were aware of something. The second watch was helmed by Rowan and Cain, where they seem to kind of have this really awkward first date, where Rowan was trying to like come on to Cain, and Cain was just not having it. Many jokes about how he had people waiting, like from the Black Earth Brigade, stuff like that. They did not seem to hear or notice any rumbling, if there was any. The final watch was Amdrus and Zephyr, where they did end up hearing more of this rumbling, and they kind of felt like it was mostly directional. They weren't really sure, it didn't really make much sense, but it didn't come close, and they thought, okay, cool, we're fine. So, as the morning hits, Amdrus, doing as usual, making some coffee, making some breakfast, they were all able to get up and continue moving on in the morning. They do decide that they want to aim for Hera's roadside inn, get somewhere comfortable to sleep and far enough away. So they travel as quickly and as far as they could, and were able to make it and find the inn before or just as nightfall hits. There, they reconnect with Hera and her kids, help her out a little bit as always, and they finally kind of get rooms, sit down, and take stock of the loot that they got from Merroska's office. This included a lot of gold and gems. They even got some potions, which they find all within a bag of holding. They also find a kind of silver chain that Merroska had on him that kind of had this gray stone as a pendant kind of wrapped in that silver chain. Atim does notice that the material of this rock, of this stone, seems to be the same material as made from his fan. Rowan, going through the papers they took from the desk, finds a scroll from the king to Thurl and gives it to Atim to read. And it reads, "Commander Merroska, we are pleased to hear about the outcome of your latest altercation with the Black Earth Brigade, and we praise you for the information you were able to gather from by the ones captured. Though it is sad to hear what happened to the Wind Harrow Elementalist Eldar in the recent battle, but it seems his new magic has been a success. Do not fret, I am certain we will be able to win this war much sooner than later with the discoveries found by Sorceress Kalanoth. But do continue. I want to know what our enemy is planning next. His Royal Majesty, King Demetrius Delmont III. They also found papers that mention Eldar is teaching some of the Feathergale Knights magic, and a type of rock discovered that had innate elemental powers and properties, like the anomalies, like the ones in Shadeborough, as well as mentions that Eldar's research has been taken up by this sorcerer Kalanoth. And that is where we ended session 33. Now that you're all caught up, I will see you in the past for session 34. Bye!